right, so let's do this. I got to start by telling you that Event Horizon was one of my favorite all-time movies. If I don't say it, I'm going to hate myself.
Grand, I love it too. I mean, it was a while ago. What I remember is I was young and skinny, and there was a bit where we all got almost naked out of the pods, and I had those little shorts on. And me and Sean Patriot, who are friends, and we all had the shorts on where they're meant to be, and all the gentlemen who are the age that I am now pulled them up to their nipples as best they could. That's what I remember.
I love it, man. That's so good. So, all right, let's get started with Archie. I actually read an interview that you said that you didn't want to become Cary Grant, so instead you became Archie Leach.
Not quite right. Close. When I heard that they were making it, I thought that's a fucking stupid idea. Who wants to make a biopic of Cary Grant? Someone's going to have to play Cary Grant. What kind of idiot would step forward for that? And then I read it and I realized why it was called Archie, because it's not about Cary Grant. It's about the man who struggled to play Cary Grant in his life and how that created all kinds of turbulent effects in his private life.
Absolutely.
That I felt was playable as an actor.
Very cool, man. And so what was your reaction when you first saw yourself transformed into that character? Like right when you were getting ready to go on set?
Well, the truth is that, you know, there's stuff on the outside that's more obvious to look at. The makeup and hair department did extraordinary things in my chin and my eyes and my hair, and the costume department had these extraordinary suits made by the best tailors in the world. But really, the challenge in playing Archie Leach was his inner landscape, not the outer stuff. I mean, I don't know if I got it. I tried to do the voice and the walk and the talk and stuff, but he was a really badly scarred individual. I mean, he had such an abused childhood. He was so neglected and abandoned, and really not, most of all, he's just not loved by anyone. Just not cared about at all. That he spent all of his life trying to make up for that, trying to make people like him or love him or want him. He was a male escort and he was in New York, and he used his prettiness, but in the end, he succeeded, not in the end, in the middle, by making the entire world fall in love with him. And he felt worse. He felt completely unlovable. And that those things that he's known for, being this kind of suave lady killer, the epitome of masculinity and being unflappable, as soon as he got offset and shut the front door and was with the people in his life, he was the opposite. It was extremely flappable. So the challenge for an actor, well, I didn't look in the mirror and go, oh, look, I'm Cary Grant. I thought, how do I make myself feel like he felt? Because that's what the show's about.
Sure. And like, let's say, how much research did you do in order to get into character?
Insane amounts. I was scared. I mean, it was I knew that other people would be expecting and thinking it's a story about Cary Grant. I'm watching the show thinking, I wonder if he'll be like the Cary Grant for the movies. Well, he wasn't like the Cary Grant for the movies in real life, and obviously I'm never going to be that at all. And so I fortified myself as much ammunition as I could. I read every single biography. I read every single biography or autobiography of anybody who came across him in their life. I obviously read his daughter's book, and Jennifer Grant and Diane Cannon, his fourth wife, that period of life we concentrate on so heavily in this. But then I also read the minutes of his business meetings. I watched all the movies. That's not very much use because that was a character he created. I read an unpublished PDF that someone sent me of someone who claimed to have known him very intimately for a long time. And then when I searched for him in vain, the final piece that was so hard is I didn't know what he sounded like. I knew people had expectations of his voice, but and what they're really thinking about is the voice that Tony Curtis did in Some Like It Hot when he did a very exaggerated parody. But I watched all the movies and it became very clear to me early on that that couldn't be what he sounded like, because he had exactly the same intonation pattern in all of his lines. He said things with the same degree of kind of major key closure and certainty. Just get a bit technical here, but I just didn't know what he sounded like when he dropped the hot coffee on his lap in the morning, or when he was screaming at Diane because he was so angry all the time. He had terrible rages, or when he was crying from all the nightmares he had, or when he was in hospital with alcoholism. I just didn't know. He certainly didn't sound like the guy in North by Northwest. Right. And I tried to find it. There's no interview. Anybody watching this, go searching around. You won't find any interviews with him. You'll find the once or twice in his life he finally deigned to make a public speech. But most of the time he turned awards down because he didn't want to show the public who he really was. And then finally, I found something in the last year of his life. He gave an interview to a student journalist and told them immediately, he came on the phone, "You're not recording this, are you? Don't record it." And the guy said, "No." And he gestured over to his friend. He was at the university radio department. He said, don't record. And the guy nodded. And then after an hour, this very free-form, rambling conversation, when they got off the phone, his friend said, "I did record it, obviously." And he hadn't played it to anyone in 40 years. And I tracked him down with a bit of online detective work. And I said, I think I read an interview and there was a transcript. Did you record it? And he got very defensive immediately, wanting to know who I was and why I was asking. And when I explained I wasn't going to, throw him under the bus, I just really needed to hear what Cary Grant sounded like unguarded. He very generously agreed to share it with me. And that was the trickiest thing. So I did a ton of research, but the thing that really finally made me think, oh, I've heard what he sounds like, is that recording. That and very lengthy conversations with Diane Cannon. I spoke to Jennifer as well, but she remembers this doting dad. It's a pretty simple, loving picture she has. But Diane married the biggest star in the world, the kind of super sexy icon the world wanted. And when he married her, he changed completely. He was a polar opposite. And she detailed for me what an extraordinary nightmare it was for her. And she painted a very vivid, very generous picture, really, when you think about what she went through.
Wow.
And there you go. Did all the research. And then I got to the set and I went, fuck it, let's forget all that. Because you're an actor and you've got to be spontaneous. You have to. I was opposite the brilliant Laura Aikman playing Diane, who is such a great dance partner. And having done all the work, you forget it and you go, what's happening now? What do I feel about you? You trust that it's gone in somewhere.
That's wild, man. I love it. So, you've played Cary Grant in his 30s, mid 50s, and 80s, right? In the miniseries.
60s, 70s. They're not quite specific about things. We play with a timeline, but yeah.
Right,
I play him from
right.
somewhere in his 40s or 30s to his 80s.
Right. Okay.
With a lot of help from extraordinarily talented people. They're doing 99% of the heavy lifting.
Sure. No, I understand. So what would you say was the most challenging age for you to portray?
Well, the younger one. I mean, it's easier to get older, but there's a whole bunch of elaborate architectural contraptions underneath the wig pulling me up, and I hope I don't look like I'm hanging upside down in water. But yeah, the younger one, because also he was a fantastic acrobat. He was a teen acrobat. That's how he first got to America, traveling with his vaudeville troupe. And so he could, right until the end of his life, he could, almost in his life, he was doing cartwheels and handsprings and the rest of it. So he had to be sprightly, he had to be in his body in a very physical way when he was young. That's why he did all those great pratfalls and double takes and stuff. It was easier to get old and creaky, frankly.
That's awesome, man. So we actually interviewed Jennifer Grant, believe it or not, way back in 2011. Right. And I saw that she was, what?
About Cary.
Yeah. About her book that she wrote at the time. Yeah. So I saw that she was an executive producer. Did you have any kind of other interactions with her?
Oh, yeah, God, no. I spoke to Jen at great length and to Diane. They have a very different recollection. I don't mean they have competing stories. I just mean Jennifer was first of all, she was a baby in the period we're dealing with. And she remembered a man who was not an actor. He'd given up acting by the time she came along. And he really devoted himself a lot to her. All the full force of those beams were pointed at her. And in many ways, his life and what we're documenting is his struggle to feel lovable and how he drove everybody in his life away for fear that they would abandon him. He was so abandoned when he was a kid, by his mother and by his father and stuff. But when Jennifer came along, I think that was the beginning of a process of, for lack of a more pretentious word, a less pretentious word, healing, because he loved this little person in an uncomplicated way. He didn't expect anything back from her. He expected so much, too much, from everybody he was in love with. And with Diane, he changed the way she looked, the way she sounded. He made her rewrite thank you cards 30 times. Everything from how hard she closed the handles to how far she twisted the faucets in the house, how she drove, how she parked, everything. But with Jennifer, it was his daughter. And I think the beginning of realizing, no, I'll never get the love I think I deserve from other people, but I can give love. It's the process of giving love to Jennifer. So yeah, she spoke to me at great length, but she didn't remember the angry man, the tortured man, the man that took acid, the man who had a million affairs, the man who, not affairs, sorry, relationships. And she didn't remember any of that because he didn't show it to her.
So interesting. All right, so really quick, last question. You're notorious for playing the villain, ranging from Harry Potter to Star Trek to even like the Patriot and many more. And what do you enjoy most about playing these roles?
Oh, I just like well-written things. If you watch something and I seem like a human being that you recognize, then I've picked the right project, because I'm the same actor in two-dimensional things. But if I'm lucky enough, like in Archie, to be able to step in the shoes of someone who comes across as complicated and human, which the very best antagonists are, then I'll look good. I will happily take all credit due to any good writers. So the ones you mentioned, obviously J.K. Rowling, genius writer, and that It's none of those characters are cartoons. Lucius Malfoy is a good old-fashioned, wealthy racist with ludicrous blonde hair. You don't need to look very far to find people like that stomping the political landscape today. And the guy in the Patriots trying to win the war. And in Star Trek, he's trying to get back to his universe and where he thinks people aren't so sentimental. So all those characters seem real to me. I don't take the mustache twirling one-dimensional stuff because I'll look really crap.
Sure. Well, I get it, man. That's amazing. That's really cool. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking out some
Pleasure.
time.
Great
It's
to talk to you. I'll find you at the WinterCon. Hey, plug your cinema. What's it called?
It's called MediaMics.com.
Oh, your cinema, not your website.
What's the cinema. It's called Cinepolis.
Okay.
It's like a worldwide chain. So.
All right, but yours is in the Winter Garden, Florida.
Yeah, that's right, sir. Yeah.
I hope I get some free popcorn. I'll see you there.
Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.